Edge, everything bass fishing. Coming to you worldwide from MegaWare Keel Guard Studios.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Great to be back on another episode of Bass Edge Radio. Man, what a last few weeks of tournament bass, and we had some northern largemouth showing up, especially though smallmouth being the star of the show. We did have a couple of big tourneys though in southern United States, down there in South Carolina. We're going to get into that here in a little bit. That was the Bassmaster Junior and high school anglers down there sweating it out or in this July down there. So, but some good weights and some great events. We're gonna get to some of those winners, but man, I want to thank all of you all for being here with another episode of Bass Edge Radio. That's right. If you love the show, be sure that you tell a friend. We super appreciate all of y'all being here. As always, a reminder to click that subscribe button, hit the like button, comment below. Let us know what you think of what we're talking about on the show. Let us know, topics that you'd like to hear more about here on Bass Edge Radio. But, man, here we go. Lots going on. I've got a pile of notes. There's been so much going on here the last couple of weeks. Seems like last segment, July 15th edition. There wasn't a whole lot of tournaments going on, but we had ICAST to talk about and some other cool stuff. But man, here we are, the August 1st edition, and tournament season is back underway. That's for sure. Thank you, MegaWare Keel Guard. Continued support of Bass Edge Radio. MegaWare always protecting your boat from grinding rocks, abrasive rocks, concrete, and of course boat ramps with that keel guard. If you don't have a keel guard on your boat, make sure you get one, man. Everybody needs one. MegaWare Keel Guard. They have a lot of other products you need to be aware of. Skeg Guard, Battery Guard, Scuff Buster, lots of great things there at MegaWare. Be sure to check out all those products at keelguard.com. You're going to find all kind of great accessories for your boat. But here we go, man. Let's first recognize some young anglers fishing the BASS National Championship at Lake Hartwell just last week. First, we're going to talk about the junior division, which happened just a few days prior to the high schoolers taking over there. I got to give an honorable mention to a couple of anglers from my youth fishing camp, and that is Caleb and Isaac Tubia. They finished in 10th place. They were in the top 5 after day 1. A little tougher day on day 2, but still an outstanding event. Well over 100 teams in that junior. I don't know exactly how many it was in the junior division, but they had a 10th place finish, and they were from Kansas out there making things happen on Lake Hartwell. So happy for those two. The winners of the BASS Junior National Championship were Cale Temple and Luke Schnell. I think that's correct. Or Schnell from Georgia. They were real close. They lived close there to Lake Hartwell, right across the border there of South Carolina and Georgia. Had extremely consistent weights. Took home that junior title for the national BASS Junior Championship. So just super cool. As I mentioned, the juniors were out there just a few days prior to the high schoolers. The high schoolers stepped in, had a couple days of practice, and they had a day off, kind of giving, I think, BASS is probably doing a good job on giving those fish a day of rest, but they had 400 plus teams in this tournament, so that was an undertaking to get all those junior or high school anglers registered, of course, but that's probably another reason they had a day off. But another honorable mention for a few campers from my youth fishing camp, Pro Bass camp, and that's Dylan Sorrells and Cullum Brown. They were from Texas. They ended up finishing 19th place, like I said, out of over 400 plus teams. So congratulations to Dylan and Cullum, having a great event. But the champions from South Carolina, little home cooking right here, but Mitchell Robinson and Cody Abbott took home the title. Yes, that is the Bass Pro Tour angler's son, Marty Mitchell is Marty Robinson's son. So interestingly enough, the same week Marty's other son qualified to fish the Bass Pro Tour through the MLF Invitationals. But we're going to have more on that to come here in a little bit. Winner just the other day, of the St. Lawrence BASS Elite Series tournament. Joey Fuentes, number 2. Rookie angler knocked down win number 2. First one at Seminole earlier this year at stop 2. Now wins at Lake St. Clair. So big shout out to Joey, man. He is on fire. Joey's been around the game a long time. Don't think just because he's a rookie angler. He fished the MLF Pro Circuit for several years. Still qualified to be a rookie on the BASS Elite Series this year. Hadn't fished a whole lot of time as a pro, but had dabbled in some of that stuff through the MLF before he jumped into the Opens and qualified for the Elite Series last year. So this is his first year on the Elite Series, but 2 wins. Wow, that is freaking awesome. Joey fished several years. If folks don't know this, Larry Nixon was a big mentor of Joey Fuentes, and it's cool to see that they're both now fishing on the Elite Series together too. So that's pretty. I'm sure they're rooming together. I'm not sure that. I'm not 100% positive of that, but it's pretty cool to see them together. But holy cow, man! Joey showed out, but so did Lake St. Clair. They absolutely crushed the fish out there. Tons of 20-pound bags. I think it was 38 20-pound bags on day 1. Took like 19 pounds just to be in the top 50. Day 2 was no different. They absolutely crushed them out there as well. I think St. Clair probably eclipsing the St. Lawrence River at this event with just overall catch fest. I mean, it was a catch fest. They were catching tons of fish. A lot of anglers reporting catching 40, 50 fish a day. Although St. Lawrence River still probably has the crown for the big fish. A lot of 5, 6s and even upwards of 7-pounders at the St. Lawrence River. You don't quite see that size over there at the at Lake St. Clair, but still the numbers are fantastic. Maybe on par for the best smallmouth fishery in the country. Lastly, want to shout out on this elite event, and there's nearly 8 or 9 anglers still in the game for this AOY. They've got an outside shot to take over. The current leader by I think 1 or 2 points is Brandon Cobb and Kyle Welcher. Now sitting second. Kyle was leading going into this event. Gave up a little bit there, but they're going to Champlain next, and then Thousand Islands to tap off the season. So it's going to be interesting how that rolls through. Then, like I said, we had lots going on, man. Just tons going on. The MLF Invitationals concluded their final event of the season up there on the Mississippi River out of La Crosse, Wisconsin. Matt Steffen took the title. Matt is kind of local. I think you could call him a local up there on the Mississippi River. He's from that area of the country, from that Wisconsin area, done really well on that river in the past, and finally notches the win against several local, a lot of local anglers jumped in this thing, paid the $5,000 entry fee to get in this tournament, and won a lot of money. Won a lot of money from anglers, in my opinion, that had been fishing this trail throughout the year. But that's kind of a different topic. But Matt Steffen took down some of the best to win that event. Of course, we had an AOY crown there. Ron Nelson wins the Angler of the Year title for that series in 2023. And officially, well, this is officially unofficial, but it looks like the anglers that qualify for the Bass Pro Tour are going to be Ron Nelson, Matt Steffen, Keith Carson. That's big buddies with John Cox. Keith's been tearing up the trail the last couple of years. From Virginia, Martin Villa. Looks like he qualified. From Pennsylvania, Gray Buck. Good friend here of Bass Edge Radio. Also another great friend here of Bass Edge Radio, Nick Hatfield. Looks like he punched his ticket to the Bass Pro Tour. And as I mentioned before, Marshall Robinson. Young angler from South Carolina, Marty Robinson's son. Marty Robinson, of course, fished the Elite Series for many, many years and now fishing on the MLF Bass Pro Tour. So Marshall will be joining Dad Marty on the Bass Pro Tour. Man, what an unbelievable week for the entire Robinson family. Congrats to both Marshall and Mitchell. But mostly, I got to give my hats off to Marty and Iris. I'd say they're the biggest winners. Well done, Mom and Dad Robinson. Super cool to see. Lastly, Well, not lastly, but another big event that went on here in the last week and a half was the Bassmaster Opens on the St. Lawrence River, won by a friend of mine, Jody White, guest here just recently on Bass Edge Radio. Jody had a great finish at the ABA National Championship on the Red River, so we brought him down for some chat about cold water river bassin. He gave us a lot of information in the show. I think it was episode 398. Just a few months ago. So, man, excited to see Jody's excitement to win, but also the support that he received in his success there. So, fun to see. If you watch that show, you'll know that Jody White is a media guy for the MLF. So he fishes some bass events here and there. I think MLF has that whole deal where, you can't win the lottery if you work for the lottery administration kind of thing. So he doesn't fish any MLF events, but he's able to jump into a BASS event here and there because he's very good, loves bass fishing. He also is an instructor at my camp. So that's super cool to see. And there's 3 events left in this Bassmaster EQ division. A brutal 9-event series, 3 to go. Excited. We're going to chat today with the points leader, JT Thompkins. We're going to get his thoughts, how his season has progressed, his thoughts on maintaining the lead and getting that elite qualification ticket for 2024. It's going to be fun to talk to JT here in the next segment of this episode of Bass Edge Radio. There was another event. I hate to put him down at the bottom, but it's kind of where the media is on this tour right now. But I certainly want to mention them, the National Professional Fishing League. Really cool precursor to what may happen and is going on right now in the Bass Pro Tour. That tournament started today, August 1st. So watch that Bass Pro Tour. It's the final event of the regular season. But the National Professional Fishing Lair was there just, again, last week or 10 days ago over at Sturgeon Bay. Trent Palmer out of Georgia won by 2 ounces over BASS Elite Series angler Patrick Walters. Patrick already had a win earlier this year on that tour at Santee Cooper and almost got another one there. But Trent Palmer comes out victorious. Interestingly enough, Sturgeon Bay, you think real quick, smallmouth domination, lots of smallmouth. They have a Sturgeon Bay Open there in the springtime. And I can remember 10, 12 years ago, it was nothing to have, a 30-pound sack for 5-fish limit. It was a team tournament, but they catch 30 pounds of smallmouth up there. High 20s was kind of just, somebody else fishing. Mid-20s, you weren't even getting talked to by the MC crossing the stage at that event. But anyway, largemouth seemed to dominate this event. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. We're going to find out more about what's going on with the smallmouth as this Bass Pro Tour event takes off, because those guys are going to be hunting for some of the bigger fish. Particularly, not to say the largemouth aren't big. They had 20-pound sacks, 22-pound sack of largemouth up there, but it's going to be interesting to see how this kind of whole thing boils down and kind of what's going on with that fishery. The Sturgeon Bay Open this year, smallmouth dominated, of course, and there was a 30-pound bag. But the bags just aren't, as big through the field as they used to be. So it's going to be fun to watch this Bass Pro Tour event because there's going to be a lot going on with either largemouth, smallmouth, who tries, something maybe a little bit off the wall. You got 4 anglers in the hunt for this AOY, and it's going to be interesting to see who can win, number one, the Bally Betts Angler of the Year title, but also who is going to punch their ticket to the Red Crest. That's also going to be decided this week. So as you can see, we're taping again here from the cabin. Man, it's I love being out here in the cabin. It's great this time of year, but we're in Western PA. Bass Edge is on the road. Hang tight. We're going to come back after this break with BASS Elite Qualification leader, pro angler JT Thompkins. We're going to break down his success. His thoughts of the series. It's going to be a good one. Y'all stay tuned. Bass Edge Radio and be back.
You know the importance of protecting your investments, so choose the protection the pros pick.
grinding sand, abrasive rocks, and concrete ramps are no match for our patented technology. The MegaWare Keel Guard is made tough and made to stick. Install it yourself in less than an hour, providing the most dependable, most trusted protection for your boat, guaranteed for life. Insist on the original Keel Guard the pros have picked for 25 years. MegaWare Keel Guard. Nitro, a rush of tournament adrenaline. Nitro, the choice of champion, where performance meets play. Nitro, a big water beast, a pure fishing machine. Nitro, release the champion within.
All right, here we go. We're back in the studio at the cabin, like I mentioned before the break, the hills of Western PA. Great to be up here in the summertime. I gotta say, the weather is tons cooler down in Texas right now. I know we got the man, JT Thompkins, on the horn with us, man. JT, BASS Elite Series qualifier, Angler of the Year leader. Welcome to Bass Edge Radio, JT.
How you doing? I appreciate the opportunity to get on this podcast today.
Absolutely, man. It's great to have you here. So I got to sell this for myself, I guess, a little bit. I've seen Jordan or JT. I've seen it both ways. How do you like to be recognized out there on the water?
Probably JT. That's like by far like my favorite. It's what I've been called basically my whole life by my parents and everything. And it's just the easiest. I don't even hardly respond to Jordan anymore, to be honest.
Very cool. All right, JT. So is the J for Jordan, T for Tompkins? They just went JT. You got a middle name too?
Yeah, I got Timothy. So it's Jordan Timothy Tompkins. So it's really like JTT. But we had I used to play soccer for my high school, and there was a ton of Jordans on it. So we just called me JT. He was the easiest.
All right, cool. I like it, man. Well, you come from a Bassin family, so it's no wonder your middle name was Timmy. Your dad's name's Timmy, too. Your father was a big-time angler, fished on the FLW Tour for several years, MLF Pro Circuit. I know he's still dabbling in some events with you as well, fishing some of the Elite Series stuff. Man, how did you begin to receive that, kind of Bassin experience as a young angler? And I say a young angler, you're 21 years old now?
21.
Yeah. So we're gonna get into some of your accomplishments already, but man, at 21, so growing up, you live in South Carolina, kind of on the coast, I think. Have you always lived there? And kind of give us some background of your experiences about how you grew up bassing.
Yeah. So I grew up in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, which is basically on the ocean, and my home waters is Winyah Bay. So I grew up fishing tidal waters my whole entire life with my dad. And really, me and my dad, what'd you say?
I said, that's very cool. I love tidal water fisheries.
Oh, yeah. Tidal water is by far my favorite. I enjoy everything about it. Me and my dad, we kind of started learning how to fish together. My dad, he got a really late start in bass fishing, late 30s or early 30s, mid 30s. And me and him both kind of started at the same time when I was about 4 years old. He started a few years before out of a little John boat. But we just started fishing little small tournaments around my house and stuff like that. And that's kind of how we both got our start. So that's kind of where we learned to grow up fishing is the Winyah Bay.
That's all. So you were able to kind of bounce things off each other. You're probably watching some stuff on YouTube or the internet, and he might be reading some stuff in Bassmaster or FLW magazine, and you guys are just doing the mashup. Like, how do we figure out how to catch these things?
Yeah, early on, I was just there to enjoy my time, just learning the ropes of just beginning fishing, like when I was 4 and 5, 6 years old, and then he kind of just started progressively getting more and more accomplished we ended up fishing team trails is how we started. We fished team trails around the house. We ended up being 3 times points champions 3 years in a row.
Wow.
And then that was when I was around the early teens, like 10 to early teens time. Okay. And then my dad, he knew that I really loved fishing and really wanted to pursue it. And he said he basically knew the only way that I could pursue it is that he pursued it first and kind of laid the path.
Nice.
So he
That's
started
awesome, man.
fishing. Yeah, it was it was super fun to like watch him grow as an angler as well. But he started fishing BFLs, and then he started jumping in some Toyota series, and then he also fished on the tour as a co-angler when I
Okay.
was like mid-teens and stuff like that. He started traveling a lot, and then he jumped in. He qualified. He ended up winning. He was number one in bass rankings as a co-angler his first year ever as a co-angler on
Oh,
the FLW tour.
that's awesome.
So that was pretty sweet to see, you know. And then he actually qualified to fish that FLW tour then. And then I think he fished it for 3 years or 2 years. And then he decided that I was old enough now that I could start fishing Toyota series, I could start fishing Bass Opens, and that's when he took a step down and started fishing alongside of me in the Toyota series when I was like 16. So
Wow.
that's kind of how we got started.
That's awesome. So Winyah Bay, it really didn't hit the map, in at least for
Mhm.
most people in the national perspective anyway, until the elites, went down there. We saw, a lot of great fish catches. I remember Carl Jochimson caught a huge one there, and they started fishing these rice fields up the river. Guys making these crazy long runs. I remember Boyd Duckett doing really well, and Britt
Britt Myers.
Britt Myers was doing awesome in that tournament too. So that was kind of that kind of drive that passion for you as well, just because now you saw, like a national tournament there, more or less in your home body of water, kind of in your
Hmm.
back door there in South Carolina.
Yeah, it was kind of it was surreal to see because I never thought there would ever be a big tournament on our home waters. And, it's not very big. It's not very good, and so it was really cool to see all these elite guys in our home rivers. Seeing how they attacked it, seeing all these different things was just super cool for me to see at a young age. And I knew when I went to Georgetown and I watched the weigh in, and I actually was there with Gussie and them, and then I saw those guys, and that's when I really truly knew that that's what I wanted to do for a living. And that's that one day if they ever come to Winyah Bay, I want to be there. So that's kind of the
Right,
goal.
right. Hometown angler for sure, man. We talked a little bit, man. You're a young dude, man. In 2021, you got your first AAA win in the Toyota Series. You were 19 years old.
Hmm.
Um, you had fished an open there a few weeks prior, kind of struggled a little bit. Looked like you just stayed to figure it out, and you figured it out enough to win a Toyota championship or a Toyota Series regular series event. Man, what did that win do for your early maturation progress?
Yeah, so like you said, we had a tournament there in the Bass Open. I made a long run, and I knew that I made a mistake. And the thing is, when you make a mistake, when you make a long run, it's too late usually.
Right, right.
So I ended up staying there, like you said, and that showed me. I learned a lot from that first Bass Open. It showed me that where risks can work and where risks can fall apart. So
Sure.
I ended up staying those 2 weeks and tried to figure out a winning pattern, and I ended up working out. And that kind of showed me that if I put my mind to it, work extremely hard, and stay at these places for a long time, I will have a shot to win eventually. And if I put myself in enough situations where I have a shot to win, I eventually could win. So that was where the confidence came from. That if I spend time on these bodies of water, that I'm I'm good enough to be able to win on these bodies of water.
Right.
And all I have to do is go and put my time in and work extremely hard. And when I ended up winning and kind of after putting my mind to it, it gave me the most amount of confidence in the world to go to other lakes and try to do the same thing and replicate it. So
Yeah. Yeah, and replicate it you did, bro. So you come back the next year, 2022. You're fishing. I'm not. Did you fish all the Bassmaster Opens in 2022 also?
yes, I did.
Okay, so you're fishing the Northern Division as well, along with the Southern and Centrals, and you go to the Chesapeake Bay. Uh, you get another W. So now you got two AAA wins. Now you've won a Toyota Series event. You've won a Bass Open event. You win this one on the Chesapeake Bay. Man, dude, you are like off and running here. You're qualified for the 2023 Bassmaster Classic. Um, Man, you're putting together these winning ways at a young age. Kind of, what's going through your mind to make these decisions or this process successful for you?
So I always love listening to Brandon Pollock and these guys because one of my favorite things that Brandon Pollock, I'm pretty sure, is hard work. Like there's no such thing as luck; it's hard work meets opportunity, and that's something that I've lived by for a long time. And you gotta have a little bit of luck when you win these tournaments. Period.
Right. Right.
And the thing is, when he said, and the thing is, the better you are and the harder you work, the more lucky you'll get. That's another thing that I've always heard. So I knew if I go to these lakes, just like um, where's it, Harris, and I put my time in and work extremely hard, that luck will eventually, or hard work will eventually meet opportunity. I'll get lucky enough to win again, and it just
Right.
happened. It just happened to be on Chesapeake Bay, and I really felt at home there. It's a tidal water. I grew up fishing there my whole entire life, and I had a couple things happen in that tournament that was pretty awesome. Like we had a full moon, so I knew it tripped up a lot of people with the tides, and I had a little bit of advantage when that type of stuff. But that's kind of how I feel like my chances of winning has been a little bit higher than most people's, is because
Okay.
I have the opportunity because of my parents to go to these places and spend a lot more time than most people prior to
Gotcha.
these tournaments. And that's kind of the game plan me and my dad have laid out for my career is, I have the opportunity to kind of do as I please when it comes to traveling,
Okay.
fishing, and not have to be stressed. I don't have a lot of stress when it comes to it. And my dad basically just asked me to outwork a lot of people and work extremely hard, as hard as I possibly can. And as long as I do that, that I can do it. So that's what
Taking
I'm trying to
advantage
do.
of it. Yeah,
Hmm.
dude, that is awesome. Well, putting the time in, you definitely are. It's great to see, and it shows when you put the time in. It's not always, like you say, luck. It's creating opportunities and creating understanding, creating more experiences for you that you're able to pile those things up and put yourself in a position to win. Done it twice now. I'm feeling there's more going to be coming. Man, you've got a cousin, Jacob. I see this Tompkins name right everywhere, and now I see Jacob Tompkins fishing the BASS EQs. He's your cousin, I understand. Do you guys work together? Do you travel together? You guys doing your own thing out there, or what's the dynamic of having a family member out there? Fishing the same events with you, and obviously we talked earlier. Your dad fishes a lot of these events too. I know he missed the St. Lawrence event, but he's out there as well. So how does that whole process work for you all as a family?
Yeah, I mean, in this game, it's extremely hard to trust a lot of people. Like I think everybody knows that when it comes to bass fishing. Bass fishing aren't known to tell the truth. So it really it
Bunch of
perfects.
fibbers.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where I think like I have another really big advantage is having family there with me all the time that I can trust 100%. Like my
Yeah,
dad, he's never going to lie to me. He's going to sacrifice, you know, himself to
areas.
push
Yeah,
me, even further. So that's another big advantage that I have, in these last few years is that me and my dad work together, I think probably better than anybody. Like I don't think there's many people that have the teamwork that me and my dad do. And then also my cousin, this is his first year. He fished co-angle. He co-angled the last 2 or 3 years on the Bass Opens out of the back of my dad and my boat. And now he's stepping into the front of the boat, and it's a learning experience that he's going through, same one that everyone goes through.
sure.
And we're working together and trying to get him over the hump, of the rookie season and that learning curve. So absolutely, we work together. We travel together, and hopefully very soon we'll start seeing a lot of results, and I'm sure it will. And that's kind of the thing. It's all teamwork out here. Like that's
Yeah.
all you can do.
See a lot of that with their brothers, of course, but the Johnstons. You
Exactly.
see that with Chris and Corey, how they've been able to kind of, work that magic. Their dad, behind them, really helping them push them or give them an opportunity to succeed. The cool thing is that similar to you, Chris and Corey took that opportunity and excelled with it. That doesn't happen all the time. We're seeing the same thing. It seems like with you, JT. Timmy's giving you the opportunity to have this platform, but you've got to put in the work. You got to catch the fish, put in the time, and you're capitalizing on it. So, dude, that's something to be said, man. That's very cool. I know there's a lot of folks out there that talk about, well, the guys that are fishing the EQs, especially the younger anglers. Well, they're kind of spoon fed or these types of things, but man, that doesn't put fish in the live well, right?
Hmm. Absolutely. Like here's like all these young guys. They don't have the experience. They have time. that's where a lot of these things come in. Like a lot of the older guys that are extremely good at the sport, they had all these years of experience that they have on these bodies of water that they worked for, and
Right.
maybe they didn't have the time that we have. And that's where, all these younger anglers are having to take an advantage of. We're having to take advantage of our opportunity from our parents giving us a lot of time.
Sure.
And realistically, we still have a lot less time than these guys in the water. We're just putting in our time now and are more adjusted to the current days of the sport.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's I think this is one of the only sports that I've ever been in that people get faulted for hard work. Like,
Right.
you
Right.
don't ever hear of a Michael Jordan or a Kobe Bryant. Man, well, anybody could be good if I was in the gym every single day working hard. That
It's
Michael
not
Jordan,
true. Right. Yeah.
yeah, like you don't hear that about other sports. This is one of the only ones.
Right.
And just because it's, somewhat frowned upon to live at these places for months and, work extremely hard doesn't mean that, I'm not going to take this advantage I have in a lot of people, an opportunity that I have, and waste it, because I feel like that would be a disgrace to a lot of people who don't have the opportunity that wish they had it.
Yeah, man.
And that's the way I look at it. And I never want to be able to, you know, I don't want to squander this opportunity that I have, that my parents and everyone around me have given me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to work as hard as I possibly can to make this happen, for those people. So,
Very well said. Very well said. Very, very respectful, dude. That was awesome. You don't hear that a lot, but you heard it from JT right here on Bass Edge Radio. That was very well said, man. You've got a formula for success now on the Bass EQs. I'd say obviously you've been the most consistent angler all year. You're leading the angler of the year at this moment. You almost made it through the Northern Division last year. We're going to go to a quick break here in a second, but before you go, you know, do you feel now that you're leading the EQ system, it's a lot different than the 3 event series that you've been fishing, even though you fished all the divisions last year? Now it's this cumulative situation, 9 events throughout the year. You're leading after 6. What's your thought process and just the overall, kind of going back to that same scenario that we just talked about, but the EQ system, you got to be all in. Whereas before you could fish 3 events and still make the Elite Series. You can still
mhm.
make the Classic now, just fishing a single division. But to make the Elite Series, you got to be all in. How's it feeling different, or is it feeling any different comparative to the last couple of years that you fished, singular divisions, even though you fished all of them now that you're in a 9 event EQ series events?
Yes, I really do like this new format. I know a lot of people don't exactly like it because it takes an opportunity from a lot of the local guys that, can't
Sure.
travel for a living, which I completely understand. And this sport is a very tough sport to make it, but, a lot of
Right.
sports are, especially when, any other sport in the world, it's hard to make it professionally when you also have a job at home. Like, and fishing is just getting to the point where it's so big, it's becoming like all these other sports, basketball, football, where time, like you can't have a job and be in the NFL. NFL is your
Yes.
job. And fishing is just getting so big that's where we're going. That I think it's a really good place for this sport, that's where it's going, because that shows improvement, it shows growth, and it shows that's what you want in a sport.
You
So,
can't just be a weekend angler hack and
yes.
qualify. Right, right.
Yes. And if you are a weekend with a job, you have to delegate time, which I don't know anything about, so I can't speak on that. But I think you can still do it. I know a lot of open guys who, like, I know people who slept in tents. I know the people
Sure.
that sleep in their trucks at boat ramps. They have jobs. They go home, mow grass. They do it. They get out here and do it all
Yep.
night. So I know if they can do it, a lot of other people can do it, because they didn't come from money. They didn't come from a lot of other places, but they just got out there, you know, and did it. They, you know, that's just what you got to do nowadays, because that's where the sport is going. It's getting more difficult. And I think this is where it should go, personally, because I know the last 2 years, not last year and the year before that, I missed the elite qualification by one spot both years.
Right. Right.
And it was a 3 event trail, but I was nowhere near the angler that I needed to be in the elites.
Mm-hmm.
I got lucky for 3 events. Not
Mm-hmm.
lucky, but you know, I had 3 tournaments in a row go my way to the point where I
Sure.
was qualified. But now that's not going to happen anymore. You can't string together 9 events off luck or
Right,
on a
right.
roll. You can't be a ledge guy and have 3 ledge tournaments and qualify. You can't be a smallmouth guy and have 3 smallmouth tournaments and qualify.
Yeah.
So now it's becoming what it should be. Like, you should qualify the same way that you're going to fish in the elites. It's going to be 9 tournaments across the country. I mean, if that's how the tournaments and the trail you want to fish are going to be, that's probably, you want to be the most prepared for that. And I think this is the best preparation you can get currently for the qualification.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. It's an interesting concept. I see both ways, as obviously you do as well.
Absolutely.
But I see also the guys out there that are making it happen. Who, maybe on paper you'd say, man, there's no way they could do that. But they have the dream, they have a goal, and they have a mission, and they're putting it to the test and giving themselves an opportunity to try and succeed out there, which is super awesome. So, man, we're going to take a short break here to catch a breath. A couple more thoughts in the second segment on your success, how technology continues to evolve. But a special thanks real quick to Bass Pro Shops is the presenting partner of this feature Angler Spotlight segment here on Bass Edge Radio. We're going to be right back for more with BASS Open's Angler of the Year leader, JT Thompkins.
Plenty of sunshine.
Come on, man, let's roll. What the?
To catch the fish, you need to be one with the fish.
With PowerPole shallow water anchors, you'll get the ultimate in precision, power, and control, so you can catch more fish. No face paint or phony fins necessary.
Excessive shock and vibration are 2 leading causes for premature battery failure. Prolong the life of your batteries with the new MegaWare Battery Guard. The Battery Guard sits under your battery and absorbs excessive vibration and bounce, reducing G-shock by up to 80%. Great for boats or anywhere shock and vibration can damage a battery. The Battery Guard can easily be trimmed to fit virtually any custom shape or battery size. Save money by protecting your batteries. Spend more time on the water and less on maintenance. Find yours at megaware.com.
All right, here we are. Welcome back to more Bass Edge Radio. We got JT Thompkins in the house, the Bassmaster Open's EQ current Angler of the Year leader. We're going to dive into some technology now. JT, it's been a great first half of the interview, really getting to know you a little bit better, understand the process you're going through here on the EQ system, this new Bassmaster Open system for 2023. But, man, I was watching the Elite Series at St. Clair, heard a lot, looked at a lot, seen a lot of people looking at their active target or their Garmin Live Scope, maybe their Humminbird Mega Live. I've heard a lot about limiting some of this technology. First, I want to talk to you, how big has, scoping or just let's call it forward-facing sonar been for you this year in being extremely consistent on the Bassmaster Elite qualification tour?
Absolutely. Scope is a tool that I use everywhere I go. I mean, it's something that you have to use everywhere you go. A lot of our casts nowadays are with pan optics. Like, you want the whole entire goal of fishing. Like, if there's anything to take from fishing, if you draw it down to one little thing, it's putting your bait in front of the most amount of fish in the most profitable way possible.
Mm-hmm.
And no tool does that better than Live Scope. So, of course, I'm going to have to take advantage of it as much as I possibly can.
Right.
And, you follow Alabama, a lot of people caught up jerk baiting brush piles along with me. And, that's, of course, Live Scope. And then everywhere we've went this year, Live Scope has been in play for sure. And I enjoy it. I do love, getting behind Live Scope and picking apart these fisheries with it, finding new ways to catch fish. I think it also opens the sport up to new ways that we've never seen of people catching fish.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I know at Champlain and other places, they're catching fish now that people never even knew existed. Like,
right.
In the middle of nowhere that no one even knows about. So I think it opens up the sport to a lot of growth and new things, but I also see where it can become monotonous for some people to watch that don't have live scope, don't understand it, and they just think you just cast to a fish and you catch it. But I think if it was that simple, I think a lot of people, probably be a lot better at it.
Yeah, yeah. So this weekend, it's a great to hear your perspective. This weekend, watching Bass Live and kind of following the St. Clair event, you heard about some of these anglers having dual forward-facing sonars on their trolling motor, forward-facing sonars on the transom of their boat. Even some of them going as far to, which if anybody follows the saltwater world, which you being from Myrtle Beach area, you might know about some of this stuff already. But there's some transducers. Now these are crazy. It's like $20,000-$30,000 transducers, but there's even some smaller saltwater transducers that we think right now we're looking at 80 to 120, maybe 130 feet out. These transducers that some of these anglers have on their bass boats can see 300 feet out. Do you think that, in your opinion, there should be a limitation to the technology that you can utilize in the bass fishing game, or do you think we should just keep pushing the envelope, let the anglers use whatever they can find out there to use to give them a continued advantage from this technology perspective of the sport?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always a line in everything. So I don't know where that line is. I haven't. It's not something I've dedicated a ton of thought to. But I know I've seen some of these boats. I've seen boats with 6 pan optics, three on the back, three on the front.
Right, right.
And personally, I can't do it. I'm not a good enough angler. I can barely keep track of. I mean, I'm known to have some of the most graphs in the I have 6 12-inch graphs in my boat.
You got big ones everywhere.
Yeah, so like majority of my thing is mapping. That's one thing I use a lot of my graphs for is mapping.
Okay.
I only have one transducer on my boat.
Okay.
That's all I use. And
Let's talk about that then real quick. Mapping, another new. It's not new, but it's continuing to evolve. You got the
yep.
Lake Master, you've got Navionics. None of them are perfect, but when you start combining some of those, even now, combining a satellite overlay with some different water levels potentially on your graphs, you're starting to get a lot more information to read a lot more. Do you find that this from a contour perspective, do you think you need both, or do you think you can get away with one?
I think you need all three.
You need all three.
Yes, because I've seen situations everywhere I've went in the country where certain ones play. Like I've seen where Navionics maybe has more community edits that I've taken advantage of, or it shows a different year where there's an entire new creek with a new marina in it, and it shows that new marina where other ones don't, and I probably wouldn't have picked up on it. And I've also seen Lake Master. I think everyone knows Lake Master probably has the best overall mapping no matter where you go.
Yeah, from a topo standpoint, right? That's what you're talking
Yes.
about.
Yeah, the contour lines are probably the most accurate out of anyone's at right now, Lake Master is. But also, you go to St. Lawrence River, the Canadian side's not mapped at all on Lake Master. So that's when you got to move over to Garmin. When Garmin has extremely good mapping, especially in open water. When they have open water, the mapping system that they use is not very good in shallower water where there's stumps because it's a completely different transducer.
Yeah.
So that's when I think like I don't have a Garmin in the back of my boat. I actually just use the Active Captain on my phone, which is a great app. I think all these graph companies have their own advantages to all their graphs. I think they do their own thing really really well.
Yep. So are
So
you using Active Captain on like an iPad?
just my iPhone.
Oh, just on your iPhone. Okay, cool.
Yep. So I just use it on my iPhone. I just idle around, look at my phone in certain areas like that, and then I have Navionics on one side, and then I have my Lake Master on the other. So I use all three maps when I'm in certain places.
Right, right.
All three maps are definitely profitable and needed in certain
Yeah,
areas to be
yeah.
the most efficient as possible.
How do you? I mean, it's a task in itself, right? I mean, kind of
Mhm.
making sure you have all the latest downloads, your graphs stay up to date. You're dealing with different brands, so that becomes a different process as well. And just getting to know those processes take a little bit of time, right?
Absolutely, it's a lot of times where you get to a place and you're mapping, you're like, man, this mapping sucks. And at the end of the tournament, you hear this guy talking about, oh yeah, Garmin just came out with this new mapping and this whole lake was mapped out perfectly, and I was able to run around. And you're just looking like, gotta be kidding me.
Right, right.
I just spent my entire practicing scanning contours that don't even exist. And so it's a lot of trial and error. And it's just like any other job in the world or something you take seriously, you got to study it. You got to understand what's going on in the industry, what companies are progressing towards certain things, and understanding, what to take advantage of the fastest. Because whenever new technology comes out, you don't want to be the last guy hopping on the train
Yeah, yeah.
and getting left behind. So
Because
that's
it'll
another.
happen quick. Getting left behind happens real fast.
Mm,
All right, good stuff, man. That's so do you use some of the satellite imaging as well while you're out
Yeah.
there? Yeah.
Like I got a bunch of satellite chips for graphs. I'm on Google Earth. I mean, I use Google Maps, Google Earth, and Apple Maps. Those are the three. Then I can also go on the internet and go on Google Earth websites and scroll through the years.
Right.
Like on my phone, I think like I just looked at it the other day, talking about like what it tells you what percentages from phone usage. I think Google Earth is like 20% of my battery usage. Safari, Bass Live is like 40 something percent. Like my phone is just a big tool for, bass fishing. So
Right.
I definitely try to take advantage of Google Earth as much as possible.
So you talk about Bass Live a little bit. We just talked about watching the St. Lawrence River, of course, the MLF, and you fished the MLFs in the past. You won a Toyota Series event. Your father fished the FLW Tour, and then progressed into fishing the MLF Pro Circuit for several years as well. Before you mentioned that he kind of stepped back, so you guys could kind of work this new path together, and him, and you fish a lot of the same events. Is there a distinction between why you decided to fish the EQ series versus why you decided not to fish maybe the invitationals? And because I see a lot of young anglers, some of them fishing both and just taking whatever path of kind of least resistance there might be to get to the top level. Because let's face it, in order to get some decent sponsorship contracts and really start to make some money in this sport, you've got to be either on the Bass Pro Tour or the MLF Bass Pro Tour or the BASS Elite Series. Was that a conscious decision that you went one way or the other, or was it just kind of just a flow that happened for you?
No, it was a conscious decision that me and my dad helped me make. And then also I talked to some sponsors, I talked to guys in the elites, I talked to guys in the BPT, and I made a conscious decision that I feel like the elites might not be the best right now, but I think it's the most overall consistent. It's been around the longest. It's
Hmm.
never. I don't think it's going to change, and I think there's always a home for. I think it's always going to be a home for some of the best anglers in the world, and
Yeah.
I think it's the most consistent. And I love MLF. I love bass. I love all these
Yeah.
trails have very good things with them.
Yeah.
Like BPT, one good thing that I know about them is they split their days up into 2 days, 40 anglers each day, and then they have 10 camera boats. So out of 80 guys, 20 guys are guaranteed to get a camera in their boat, no matter what. To where
Yeah.
back, you're only getting probably 10 because there's only
Hmm.
10 cameras, 100 guys. So your chances of getting camera in your boat, getting live coverage, representing your sponsors is a lot lower in that sense, for bass. But also, I think bass is maybe a little bit bigger currently. They get more views. Another big thing is the Bassmaster Classic. Whenever I went to that Bassmaster Classic, I just knew that I had to do that again. Like there's
Right. Right.
no way I could. I mean, it was the Bassmaster Classic. It was exactly what everyone hyped it up to be, and more. And there's a lot of hype around the Bassmaster Classic, and it's one of the only things that lives up to the hype.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was where I kind of swayed over to the elites even more. And plus, I like how the qualification formula was
Hmm.
a little better. They have 2 days of practice over there at the 2.5 days of practice at the Tech Warehouse Pro Circuit.
Yep.
And for my young career, I could do it. I would have to do a lot of pre-practice. I don't mind. Like when they changed the practice from unlimited last year to 5 days or 4.5 days, whatever it is,
Right.
I'm actually having a better year this year. So I don't think shorter practice would hurt me currently because I actually think it would help me. But for my overall learning as an angler, every single hour on the water is just a small percentage better I get. And I know that the opens, it's more tournaments, it would push me further, and I knew I had more practice. So it came down to I knew I'd get more hours on the water with the opens, and also I know the elites is a very safe bet with the classic, and I know a lot of people in the elites, and
Yeah.
so I just felt like the elites were a more safe bet for me. That's basically all it was.
Cool.
I love all of them though. So
Sounds like you thought it through though. It wasn't just a whim. It was definitive strategic decision for yourself, which is excellent. I mean, that's how you make a good career. You think about what you're doing, and then put a plan together, and then act upon it. And you're doing a fantastic job of that, bro. Let's talk a little bit about this kind of generation gap we're seeing real quick
hmm
in the fishing industry as a whole. My buddy Jody White, he did some numbers. He works with MLF. He did some numbers on Toyota Championship a couple years ago, and it really showed. 15 years ago, like the 30 to 50-year-old angler, because of the experience, seem to be the better anglers throughout the course of a year. Now we're starting to see this technology. It seems like it's the technology that's changing uh, the course of the generation of who's successful, and now you're seeing a lot of 20 to 35-year-olds be more successful than the 35 to 50-year-old crowd. What's your thought process on that? Do you feel it's you know some of the fundamentals of the game aren't as important now because of the technology? Just kind of overall, what are you seeing as a young competitor in this sport?
yes. So here's the way I kind of think that it's going right now, and it's not 100% right, I'm sure, but this is kind of how I see it. So
Sure.
with technology, back in the day, there was no Bass Live. I think the number one way of learning in bass fishing is 100% Bass Live.
Okay.
100%. There's no doubt about it. So you got Bass Live. There's tournaments going on everywhere. We got NPFL Live. We got Bass Live.
MLF. Right.
We got BB Live. We got Pro Circuit Live. So in 1 year with studying Bass Live, you can almost learn about almost every single lake in this country and watch some of the best anglers in the world compete against it.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of these younger kids, I think they're taking advantage probably more watching Bass Live. I think they probably take advantage of that side a little bit more. And
Very
plus,
cool.
another thing is you take a 30-year old in almost any sport, and or sorry, say a 40-year-old is better. You take a 40-year-old sport and you take a 20-year-old in any sport. I'm not going to say he will, but that 20-year-old has the capabilities to outwork that 40-year-old almost every single time. Now, there are lazy 20-year-olds and extremely hardworking 40-year-olds. I think
Right.
like we see it all the time. Like we got Gerald Swindle. I mean, those guys aren't slowing down at all. That's why they're still competing. That's
Yeah.
why they're still top of their game. And I think it comes down to a hard work. I think the learning curve is a lot shorter now because Bass Live, you don't have to go to these lakes and figure it out yourself.
Right.
You can look at articles, you can look at Bass Live. There's so much information out there that it's becoming more of a hard work and initiative.
Mm.
I think. I mean, I could be wrong, but I
No, no,
think
no. I think it makes sense. Yeah. I see also, for the older generation, they've been a little bit longer to really take
Mhm.
into this
Yeah.
forward facing sonar deal too. I mean, listen, I was listening to Gerald Swindle on Bass Live, and the last time they were in Michigan, he didn't have forward facing sonar. His sponsor at that time didn't have the product to even
Mhm.
utilize. But there's some resistance in that, and like, well, maybe I didn't need it. Whereas the younger generation seems to just take on to these new products, these new technologies a little bit faster. Maybe it's because they're looking for the latest and greatest thing. Not that the
Mhm.
older generation isn't, but they're slower to conform to that because they see other experiences that have worked for them in the past, whereas you didn't have those experiences, right? So you're looking for these experiences that are happening right now to take advantage of them.
Absolutely. And I think like I mean, if you it's pretty simple. If you look at two pieces of paper, one's got an entire essay written on it, then you got one that's blank. Which one's easier to write on? Write a new
Yeah, yeah,
the blank one every time. So when you got a blank canvas and you got so much information, and then you also got a hard work ethic, I think that it makes it of course it makes it extremely hard to, you know, dial in. Like, can you imagine if you changed up like let's say like spear throwing in the Olympics or something like that? Like
Right, right.
this one way of throwing the spear or whatever,
Javelin, right?
javelin.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
One way of throwing the best for you. But this guy figured out, well, if you do this, you get an extra 10 yards.
Yeah, yeah.
Those older guys, they got all that muscle memory. It's the same thing with bass fishing. They got all this muscle memory of learning how to catch fish this way, do things this way, practice this way. And now it's, and then also when you have a tough practice, when kids have a tough practice, like, well, I suck, I can't figure it out. So these older guys, like, you know, I'm having a tough practice, but I'm trying this new thing. Maybe I should just go back to the old way instead of trying to truly figure out the new way. So I think that's another learning curve. So that's kind of where I think. But I still think if you look at it, the bass fishing prime is still 35 to 45
Okay.
or 30 to 40, I'll say.
Yeah. I think it's decreased a little bit. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
it used to be 35 to 45, and now it's 30. It's like 28 to 30, 38, I think. Because Wheeler, all these guys that are like dominating the industry, they're all 30 plus.
Yeah.
They're still,
Yeah, they are.
they're still. You still need a lot of experience. These young kids aren't just going to come out here and dominate consistently.
They're getting a lot better, a
They're
lot quicker. I can tell you
more-
that. All right. Well, let's talk. What was that, JT?
They're 100% getting a lot better, a lot faster nowadays with all the technology and information.
Yes.
100.
Absolutely. All right. The fall, man. You got a major period in the year. This fall, fish are going to be chasing bait. You got 3 events left. You got Watts Bar in the EQ series. Then I believe after that you go to Lake of the Ozarks, and then finish up at a place that you've done well before down there at Harris Chain. Man, how do you, I don't want you to really like break down each event, but how do you keep your eyes on the prize, and what do you see coming up in these last 3 events to stay on top of the AOY standings, or at the minimalist, stay in that top 8 to finish and qualify for the Bassmaster Elite Series in 2024?
Absolutely. So first one we have is Watts Bar September. And I think we all know that Watts Bar is going through a little bit of a downturn. It's really, really tough. And I really like that. I love tough fisheries. I grew up on the Winyah Bay, one of the toughest fisheries there is. Like, I'm very adept to tough fisheries. So I'm looking forward to this event a lot. I just got to go here. I'm actually at Watts Bar right now pre-practicing. That's where I'm
Okay.
at.
Awesome.
So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come here. I'm going to try to find out how to catch, a limit. And then in the tournament, I'll try to figure out other deals. But, like, I think that one's going to be more of a grind to get a bite. Go fish grass here, go fish a ledge here, go jerk bait this, go flip a bluff wall. Go do 100 different things to scramble together a limit. I enjoy fishing like that. And then I also think that Lake of the Ozarks, fall fishing is all about junk fishing off it. And I think Lake of the Ozarks going to be the same way. I think people are going to catch them in 30-foot off brush piles. I think some people are going to catch them off a rock. Some people catch them off bluffs, and some people catch them off docks, and some people might even figure out how to catch some suspended fish.
Yeah.
So I think it come down to, typical fall fishing, covering a lot of water, fishing as many high percentage areas as you can in different depth zones, and kind of figuring out the deal for that day. And then Harris Chain, I think, is going to be, that's not the typical fall fishery. I think grass is going to be the number one player, of course. We're going to Florida. So I don't know. I feel like Florida could be a really good event, but it could also be a really tough one because I think everyone knows that Florida is probably the most inconsistent, lakes in the country. Change so fast.
Absolutely. I think it's late enough in the year, though. Those fish will finally kind of get out of that summer doldrum down there in Florida. I think September would really suck down there, but time they get into October, things are starting to shift a little bit down there. So I think it'd probably be a pretty good event. I think Lake of the Ozarks, dude, that place just has a ton of fish. So even if they're in a funk, people are still going to catch a lot of limits down there at Lake of the Ozark, and I think you're right on point with Watts Bar, man. It's on a downswing. It's tough fishing. It's going to be tough to get consistent limits there, and you're not going to need probably a whole lot of weight. It's just kind of going to be, get you some 5, and you'll probably be feeling pretty happy about it. If you can get lucky and catch a couple 3-pounders, then you really be feeling good. So.
huge.
Yeah. All right, man. Last question. I'll let you get back out there on the lake. It's kind of a two-pronged deal. Number one, even though you're a young dude, you've got a lot of maturity about you. I can tell that here through the interview and see it when throughout watching you on the water and just being at events. But high school, college anglers, looking for a path to success. We just talked a little bit in the earlier part of the show about the juniors and high school anglers there, making some noise at Lake Hartwell. What do you feel like is the most important thing for those anglers that really have this passion? The key to it, I feel like, is you've got this passion. Many other anglers have this passion. That the drive is so distinctive, like so focused that is what's helping you to be successful. Besides all the other things you talked about, putting in the work, time, and all that kind of stuff. But what do you feel like for a high school or college angler has to have in order to make this push that you're making at this moment?
Absolutely. And like I said before, I have an opportunity most don't have. So it's hard to, speak on that in a lot of senses because I know a lot of people don't have the opportunity that my parents have given me. So that's one thing. But I also took a different route because of that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And
Sure.
so high school fishing, I actually competed a couple years in high school, or 2 years in high school, qualified for national championships, stuff like that. And I think that's a great way for I think it's a really good way for kids to get in a tournament situation, you know, help it helps them make tournament decisions at a young age and stuff like that. So I think that's a really great way. And I did not go to college. I decided against the college. I could have went to college, but I feel like college would have restricted my time on the water.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're the two number one things in bass fishing is hard work and time on the water. That's the two number one ways of learning. And I don't think it's ever going to change, no matter where this sport goes. Time on the water and hard work.
Right.
So,
Right.
and I think when I went to when kids go to college, I think it's amazing. You become more well educated. You can take speech classes. You can learn how to, you know, you can attack the other side of the sport, which is the business side, the sponsor side, because that's probably it's 50-50. If you can catch, can't get sponsored, can't afford to catch fish. So I think college does a really good job at educating young anglers to where they can represent themselves a lot better. It also, you get a lot of sponsors that come with college. Like a lot of these college anglers, you see them stick with their college sponsors throughout
Mm-hmm.
their entire career. So it's a really good place to build relationships. Build relationship with anglers. Also become very good tournament anglers. Grow your popularity a lot more than the route that I took. And I really think like if I had to draw it back, I probably would have went to college.
Hmm.
Maybe. I don't know because I don't know. I don't know. I don't know
Tough
if I would
choice.
have gotten, but I also could have gotten a couple wins in college and done some stuff over there. So you never know what can happen. But I think there's whichever route you take, there's a great opportunity for you there. And I think that as long as you work extremely hard and you know that's just what you got to do. Time on the
Yeah.
water, work extremely hard. I think a lot of problems will fix themselves with those two, recipes.
Right. Man, I couldn't agree more. I see a lot of college anglers doing really well in the opens. They create a lot of industry relationships
Mm.
through those experiences as well, whether it's through the organizations or sponsors, like you mentioned, people that they meet throughout that process of being in college and just competing on that level, just like you're meeting people competing on the level that you are as well. So it's a two-pronged approach, but I think there's no right way. The end goal is the same, right? Get out there, fish, make the elites or make the Bass Pro Tour, whatever the goal might be for each individual angler to have hopefully a potentially successful career on the national level. I think that I see like the Dakota E Bears, the Matt Beckers, and some of these mid 30s guys like you're talking about, and the success that they're having that just started maybe 5 or 6 years ago, fishing on the pro circuit or fishing in the opens and now coming through the elites. I think this rookie class that's going to come from 2023, moving into the elites in 2024, is probably going to be the most dominant rookie class that we've ever seen throughout the history of bass fishing, just because of what you've talked about in this interview. The process that you have to go through to get there now is so stringent, and it's going to be fun to watch to see where you guys go. Hopefully, I think you're going to be a part of that mix. So, man, you got any final thoughts here before we shut down the interview? You spent a ton of time with us here today. I super appreciate that. But any closing thoughts for Bass Edge Nation before we let you get back out there on the water?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for giving me this opportunity and this amazing podcast. I really appreciate any opportunity that I get, and thank you for giving me a shot. And I really enjoy my time on here. Well asked questions were asked are awesome. I enjoy my time, and
Awesome, man.
look forward to doing it again in the future.
Well, we look forward to having you back on again. Hopefully as an Elite Series qualifier, man. If we can do that later on this fall or maybe early next year before you start your 2024 season, that'd be fantastic. But well, thanks, JT. As I mentioned before, we're gonna let you get back out there on the water. We're gonna be right back with some closing thoughts from me. Talk a little bit about some of the tournament stuff that's coming up here in the near future. But thanks again, JT. You take care. Bass Edge Nation, we'll be right back after this short message.
Nitro, a rush of tournament adrenaline. Nitro, the choice of champion, where performance meets play. Nitro, a big water beast, a pure fishing machine. Nitro, release the champion within. Nobody wants to run out of power when they're on the water. There is a better way. Introducing the Charge Marine Power Management Station from PowerPole that does the work of 3 devices: a traditional battery charger, a charge on the run, and an emergency start system. PowerPole Charge.
All right, man. Welcome back. More Bass Edge Radio. What an interview with JT Thompkins, man. It was fun to get to know that young fella. Man, he's really making a mark in this industry. I'm gonna go ahead and say I don't know if I've ever said this on Bass Edge Radio. But man, if there's a sponsor out there looking for a young angler, he might be a great get. So, man, JT really lit it up in the interview, told us a lot about what he thought about the EQs and how that process, of course, forward-facing sonar, big part of his game. But, man, that guy is just straight up putting in hard work. Dude, I mean, he's got the opportunity to be out there. He's utilizing it, and he's not just, blowing it off, as you might say. So it's super cool to see that from JT. Love his approach. Love his maturity for such a young age, man. Guy's 21. Won a Toyota Series at 19. Won a BASS Open at 20 years old. Fished the Bassmaster Classic this year. Man, it's he's got it, dude. I think JT Thompkins has got it. We're gonna be seeing him on the Elite Series in 2024. I'm gonna just go ahead and call it right now. Whether he's leading the Angler of the Year or not, if he was close and we had this interview right now and we knew he was at Watts Bar already practicing for that September event, putting that time in, how do you bet against a guy like that? So great job, JT. Appreciate you being on the show, man. There is some cool events going on right now. Right now, today started the final regular season event of the Bass Pro Tour on Saginaw Bay. We're going to crown a new Angler of the Year, the Bally Bets. I think that's what they call the Bally Bets Angler of the Year on the Bass Pro Tour. You got 4 guys in the mix there. You got Dakota Ebear, young, middle-aged guy, but really making his mark in the fishing industry. You've got Jacob Wheeler, Alton Jones Jr. Has had a fantastic year. He's leading going into the event, so it's gonna be cool to watch how that goes. There's one other guy in the mix. I don't have it in my notes, but I know those 3 are in the mix. So sorry I left that person out, but man, it's going to be a fun event to watch. Do they go for largemouth? Do they go for smallmouth? Do they play it safe? I think Saginaw Bay is going to bring a lot of just a lot of interesting strategic decisions. It's still best five, so history says the smallies will take it. But man, that National Professional Fishing League, event we just watched there just showed the abundance of largemouth in that place. So it's going to be fun to watch. Then after that, Saginaw Bay wraps up on the 6th of August. Then it's right into the Toyota Series, which I will be in that event. The Toyota Series Northern Division at stop number 2 up on the St. Lawrence River. Going to be a little bit of a precursor maybe to what happens at the BASS Final Elite Series event. That's going to happen just a week or so after that Toyota Series event. It's closer there to the end of August, but that's going to be, should be another great event. Midsummer event, probably going to have more fish, school up deep. I know in the open event you saw, some guys having some success shallow, some guys having some success deep as well. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see how that progression has continued to establish there on the St. Lawrence River. And then, coming up for the elite event that's going to be happening there as well. But then Champlain left for the Elite Series. St. Lawrence left for the Elite Series. It's going to be a shootout, man. All right, that's going to be the end of this show, Bass Edge Radio, coming to you again, like I said, from the cabin here in Western PA. I love doing the show from up here, out here on the porch. It's beautiful weather. For all you folks down south, I think it was like 59 degrees this morning, by the way. A little chilly, I know, but I know folks back at my house in Del Rio, Texas, they'd be loving this kind of weather right now. But anyway, we're going to have a new episode coming back on August 15th. So y'all stay tuned. I hope you enjoyed this August 1 edition of Bass Edge Radio. As I say, we'll be back again August 15th. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave us a comment below. Tell me what you think about Bass Edge and what you heard here in this episode of Bass Edge Radio. Man, we enjoyed bringing it to you. Until next time, adios. So long, everybody, from Bass Edge Radio.